Your generation has 72 genders. My generation was experimented on by the government who spliced our genomes with that of an alien species. Well, it seems like history is destined to repeat itself, because not even 3 months after my video of me covering the latest drama within the puppeteering community, racism is now an issue within it. Which, if you had told me 2 years ago that, Dean, you would be talking about racist puppets, I'd say you're a liar. Because first of all, puppets are silly, and how did you get into my bedroom? But no, it is true. And this incident occurred at the world famous Leather Bar. Patrons outraged over racist, transphobic show at famous Leather Bar. Now I'm going to be straightforward with you. I've not read through the article yet, and I have not found out whether or not it's actually racist yet. Because of a website called The Advocate, well, sometimes they kind of seek out issues where there are none for clicks on their pages. A popular gay leather bar in Chicago celebrated its 45th anniversary with a performance that critics found so offensive that one of the established bartenders quit on the spot and several patrons got up and left the bar. The famous kink and leather bar Touche hired puppeteer Jerry Hallett to entertain a crowd assembled for an anniversary soiree. Video clips of the performance show jokes that played on stereotypes and racist tropes of black women and transgender people. Halliday, who is white, pulled out a black puppet, oh no, and introduced it as Sister Girl. Absolute nutsack on this lad. Wow. I'm laughing, but it's not that ridiculous and far-fetched. I don't know if anybody remembers Jeff Dunham. He was like a really famous comedian at one point. I mean, his act was global. And he had some crazy kooky characters who I found were hysterical at 13. But in retrospect, had some kind of like odd names. Obviously, Ahmed the Dead Terrorist being the most popular one. There was his gay puppet, which was the son of Pina, or was it the son of Ahmed? I can't remember. And his one puppet that's literally just a Mexican dude on his stick. So this isn't too far out of the realm. I am quite curious to see how far he went with these jokes, and if people maybe took them the wrong way, and maybe he's just kind of like a office type character. You know, like the dad from Modern Family, kind of awkward dude who thinks he's trying his hand at comedy and just ends up offending everyone because he's not funny. Which, according to the bartender Chris Bullock, made him immediately uncomfortable. Halliday changed his voice to sound like a caricature of a black person. Witnesses tell The Advocate that he made jokes about welfare, watermelon, and having multiple kids. Oh my Jesus. This is the number rule with jokes. If you are going to do offensive comedy, you have to be funny with it. Like, if you're just making racial stereotype jokes for the sake of making racial stereotype jokes, it's not funny, and it will come off the wrong way. You gotta be clever with the concepts. You can't just be like, oh, my baby mama was on welfare and 15 kids and watermelon and fried chicken. You know, it's not funny. It's just kind of cringe and obviously grossly offensive. But I think cringe is a worse crime. He also belittled the names of black children, witnesses said, and went so far as to reveal what he called an Afro Puff Brillo pad beneath the puppet's clothing where human genitalia would be. Jesus. I'm not laughing at the comedy. I'm laughing at the fact that someone thought this was a good idea and people would receive this well. At some point, you had to stuff this puppet, which, cool, you're making a black puppet. Yeah, that could be kind of funny in some jokes. But then he literally took a sponge and tinkered with it in his garage to make the perfect Brillo pad Afro. I'm trying to find a word that doesn't get me censored. Lady carpet. And thought to himself, yeah, dude, this is absolutely brilliant. That's multiple hours of work. He came up with this concept of the character, the concept of the Brillo pad, and then applying it. That's at least 3 days of craftsmanship. For some reason, I just have this heavy visual of like an Iron Man scene where he escapes from the desert in #1, combined with that TikTok meme of people constructing things. And he's just like... Finally, after all these years, I've constructed the most powerful weapon of all. Racism! Everyone in the crowd thinks this is a little weird for 2022, says an unidentified patron to Halliday, who is sitting on the stage facing the crowd with a puppet to his side. Everybody who wants this man to shut up and make some noise and clap, Halliday replies through the voice of his puppet. One can hear multiple people clapping and booing the patron who appears to leave the bar. It's a 50-50 split. I haven't heard the jokes and I haven't seen the concept yet, so I can't fully judge this man. But from how this is being described, it's a little wacky. Especially to do this in a gay bar, bro. Like, if you were doing this in redneck country, they'd probably hoot and holler. But you're like, yeah, let's go to a woke place and do these types of jokes. Like, I'm not gonna get some backlash. Unless that was the point. I don't know. I'm super conflicted on this guy. Several audience members also walk out mid-performance, including Bullock. In fact, Bullock tells The Advocate that he quit right there and then. He says that he got to work shortly before 10 p.m. shift, and within minutes of Halliday's performance beginning, he recognized that something was off. Ooh, we got a video to go with it. Sister Girl returns from a break and celebrates Touche and the bartenders after the act one of the bartenders told me a coworker walked out, presumably quitting.
You're flirt with the dirt and hostess with the mostess. Put your hands together.
No, I don't even need to watch the video to know that this is gonna be bad. If an announcer ever comes out like a seedy dude to introduce someone onto stage, that guy is terrible. If you ever hear that stereotypical movie announcer voice from like 80s comedies, you run like hell because you're in for a bad time.
Coming this summer, two friends drove in a car across country. Why do? Because Dude Movie 2 coming soon. Dude 2, hornier than you.
It's never a good indication, is my point. Bielak says that because his chosen family includes people of color, trans women, he was getting extremely uncomfortable being in a space while many in the audience cheered on the puppeteer. I'm starting to get the sense that Bielak isn't entirely without fault. I can smell the white guilt coming off of him because it seems like he's getting offended on another culture's behalf. Although granted, from what I've seen, the clips look a little bit iffy. I haven't seen any of the actual jokes executed yet, so I can't fully judge. There is a good chance that Bielak needs a bit of a tougher skin, but that's a perspective choice, and I don't have all the information, so I can't say yes or no to anything. Like, I started to feel nauseous because I'm not here for racism, the 37-year-old says. Again, it's an iffy situation because half the crowd's cheering him on and the other half's not. So who's in the wrong here? Are you just grossly oversensitive? Because you're working in a gay bar. All of those people in there are liberal as hell, and if they find it funny, then it's possible that you're the problem. It's just different perspectives I like to have because I don't like to lock in on one person's story and say that's the whole story. I'm not here for transphobia or jokes about something else, which also is happening, he says, and I texted my roommate and I said, I think I need to leave. So I looked up Chris's images and I'm not going to show them, but from what I've seen, it looks like the high probability he is white, and it seems he's getting offended on other cultures' behalfs without speaking to that culture. You might have a little bit of legway in saying what is transphobic, because maybe you are part of that community, lad, but you have no headway in saying what is racist, because again, you're the same skin tone as me, you pasty boy. He took his key off his keyring, tossed it onto the manager Dave Brewer's desk, and quit. You can do all the control you want over the situation, touche Chicago, but the reality is you allowed a racist, transphobic white man to perform at comedy tonight for your party. You, David, laughed along. Yes, and as me, as a non-racist white guy, guys, I'm not racist, look at me, I was grossly offended. You ever want to know if someone's really racist? They doth protest a little too much. This means you and your establishment condones racism, transphobia, and anti-blackness, as well as misogyny, from what I gathered as your former bartender. Shame on you. You should never post the Onyx flag again and host a WTNB night again, etc. Touche has been in operation since 1977, and that's the year where the bar should have left its featured entertainer on Tuesday night, according to Philip Smith, who captured an incident on video. Smith says Boyer sat in the audience throughout the performance and even participated in a bit at the conclusion of the show, collecting tips for Sister Girl's 5 kids. Wow, that one's yikes. He adds that he posted the video clips online because he was disgusted by what he had witnessed and felt the others needed to see blatant racism looks like. According to me, a white guy. Look, I give people the benefit of the doubt all the time. I will admit that these guys are right to some degree. This is, if not borderline, at least a little bit racist, but the proportion at which these guys are blowing out of it rubs me the wrong way. It honestly feels like you're just trying to show other people how good you are and you just don't give a shit about the actual issues, because if you did, you would ask a black person what they thought about it, you would ask what trans person what they thought about it, and you would discuss it, and then you would write a statement instead of reacting with knee-jerk anger. You would have labeled out the reasons as to why you thought it was offensive, and not just because you felt offended. It's all reaction anger, reaction anger, reaction anger. Well, reaction anger makes a news story and then drops the issue a day later. And this is especially true for white people who are trying to grandstand for other races, which they have no business in doing so. Your role is not to be the voice, your role is to be the ally. And you get that confused too often. Too often people talk about how somebody might have perceived something as racist, and even when you try to explain it to those people, they claim they don't understand, he says. Now it's right there for everyone to see. It was shocking. I know it seems like I'm turning against Chris, because I am. He seems like a very biased and impartial witness, but I'm also definitely not on the puppeteer's side, because this is bad. The stereotypes are real bad, dude. They're not even clever. Outraged people took to Twitter and Facebook after the performance and complained on the social media pages for the bar. After the performance video began trending online, members of the international leather community began pulling their support for the bar on social media, while Touche's management initially remained silent. Halliday's website and YouTube page appear to have scrubbed off references to Sister Girl. However, an archive of the site shows the current characters, including a gay character called Twinkie Boy, Granny Good Times, and Not So Holy Nun, in addition to Sister Girl. The Advocate reached out to Jerry Holiday to discuss his performance, but did not receive a response. And the rest is just grandstanding and people on their high horse. I'm gonna say this clearly, the situation sucks. Clearly, this is just a hack comedian who somehow got a shot, who isn't very funny to begin with. And clearly his characters, yes, they are offensive. I'm not denying that at all. I would be pretty pissed off too if somebody brought out a puppet called Cracker Boy and was just going on about how much I love mayonnaise and spicy food's too hot for me. It's not on the same level, I know, but I'm trying to relate my point to you guys. Personally, if you had to ask me who was in the wrong here, everyone involved. There's no winners. The comedian was wrong for making really, really terrible jokes and just overall being a cringe lord. The club was wrong for taking him on and letting him tell his cringe lord jokes. The crowd wasn't really wrong because half of them seemed into it and half of them didn't seem into it, which is, you know, different people's senses of humor. You can't tell someone something is not funny if it's funny to them. And Chrissy Boy is definitely the most wrong. As I already stated, you should be an ally, not a voice. And he kind of just gave ammunition to people who don't like you already. Do you know what's more constructive than just yelling at someone in the face? Breaking down the reasons why they're wrong and systematically detailing why these jokes weren't funny in a calm, collective way with a statement. If you ask me who my favorite civil rights leader was, I would always say Martin Luther King over Malcolm X, because as frustrated as you get as a community, anger begets more anger and leads to violence. Two right fists don't make a left. And again, you don't get to speak for these marginalized communities, because instead of making the issue about the guy who made the jokes, the issue is now focused on you, the white guy who was upset about the jokes. You can be ultra woke and you can live with your chosen family, but you're still doing it wrong, lad. I know this video got a little bit heavy near the end. I expected it to be a little bit more humorous, but I guess it got a little sad. My name is Dino. Legally, you have to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.